p.m. We'll officially call this meeting to order. If the council has had an opportunity to review the minutes from last month's meeting as well as the claims for payment, I'll entertain a motion.
I have a question about Citizens Alliance Bank Zoom meeting maintenance. Seems a little weird to me. And also John Deere Financial Water Postage.
Oh, the water postage is them sending water samples from John Deere.
Okay,
The City Alliance, hold on.
But that's on the card.
Yeah, it's on
is that what that
our
is?
our credit
Okay,
cards.
I got it now.
Yeah.
Never
Yep.
mind. Now I understand.
The
Thank you.
$16.
So moved.
Second. Motion and second to approve the minutes from last month's meeting as well as the claims for payment. Any further discussion? None heard. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried. Open forum. Everyone here is on the agenda, correct? Bolton and May update on the PER funding application.
Got a few handouts for you guys. I'll keep my conversation with you guys a little shorter than last time.
Thank you.
There's going to be 2 copies. There'll be 2
Even here last
copies for
time, were
each.
you? Oh, okay.
So here you go.
Oh, yes. Could I
How about one of you grab one?
One of each?
Yep, one of each and
All right.
pass it on around. And you can grab another copy.
Pass it over.
Is here an okay place to stand in front of everyone? I don't want to make
No, that's
feel like I'm
okay.
On a
talking
table?
anyone's back. Oh, that's all right. All right, so at the last meeting, we talked about the PER for the 2024-2025 project here that we're scheming on, and talked about submitting an application for some funding through the PFA. So right here for you guys, we have a review or draft copy of the PER application. That's the one that's got the green on the very front page. And then the other one are the documents that we will send in for the application. We're almost done with the application and the PER. We're just getting a few numbers from, we've been working with Dave to get a few numbers here that we need for our submittal. And the date we have to submit by is May 5th, which is the first Friday in May. That's the same every year for the PFA funding. So I guess at this meeting, we're looking for approval to submit the PFA application for funding from the City Council, and we'll, if you guys go ahead and give us the approval, we'll be submitting here in the next couple of weeks as we finalize the last couple numbers we get from Dave and get the costs all squared away.
Did you find in the application process, it was just pretty straightforward, just like we saw the first time we've applied, so.
Yep, it's pretty straightforward. Since I think we did the water main looping project out along Highway 212, that was also the same style of application.
So is there any way we could have gotten this, see this last week in our emails so that we could look at it ahead of time?
I can make sure I do it next time.
I think that'd
Oh,
be
yeah.
really
Yeah.
helpful if we send out on Thursdays, that'd be really
Okay.
helpful to have it over the weekend.
Gotcha.
So all of us could have reviewed it a little bit.
Okay, I'll make sure and do that next time for you. So what you guys could do then instead is say contingent upon, we approve you to submit this contingent upon Dave and Tracy's review, and you guys could give them the go ahead, something like that, I would say. Yep, and the PER, I'll jump to that right away.
Can I just ask, what numbers are we waiting for yet?
We're waiting, we're just trying to get a few, get a little information on, what we use for, at the water treatment plant and
Oh, sure.
some stuff like that. Yep. I know Dave's had a few more important matters on his plate regarding other water throughout town. And then I'll jump to the PER right away. at the next meeting, you guys can approve the PER. We don't need approval for the PER or anything. This is your review copy for this. And that, we can change this over the next month as you guys see fit. But, because the application date is just I think it's the week right before the next council meeting, we'd be looking for approval to send in the application for all the water improvements tonight.
And are we bound then, if we send it in, we're submitting so that we can get some grant money? Is that
Grant
correct?
and or
And-
loan.
Okay,
Yep,
but we're not committed to doing anything?
Nope.
So-
We just have to sign the PFA loan.
yep. They could say, yep, we got funding for you, and you can say, great, thank you, or you can say, hey, this isn't the right time for us to do the project.
It-
We'll, apply again for the next cycle.
And this is that cost of $2,500, give or take, if my memory serves? Is that when you were last here, did you?
I think it said the PER and the application was about 5,000 for
5,000?
everything, yep.
I didn't bring my notes from last
I
one.
think that's right. You know,
Yeah.
those two.
Yeah.
Five,
I think so.
for both of them, okay.
I'll make a motion we approve.
Were there any changes made to this since we reviewed it?
The one change in the PER, I've been talking with Dave Wolfel here. There's some storm sewer on Birch Avenue going up towards the splash pad that we currently added that wasn't in the original scope that we talked about last week. Otherwise, everything from my notes and my conversations with Dave, everything else is as we discussed at the last meeting.
So I'll make a motion we approve preliminary, based on, unless Dave and Tracy come up with something different. Then I'll do contingent on that review by them.
There's a motion on the table, is there a second?
Okay, I'll second that.
Motion and second to approve the preliminary engineering report as well as the application for grant/funding contingent on the city administrators and maintenance department's approval. Any further discussion?
I will say you don't need to approve the PER itself.
Oh, we do not.
Nope.
No, but it doesn't, I mean, it's just the grant application anyways, so
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it makes a difference.
Yep, the
Okay.
PER will, next month, either myself or Dave will be here, we'll go over costs in a little more depth once we have those numbers pulled together. And then we'll maybe talk about the assessment policy too, a little bit, touch on that, go over some rates and things.
I can amend it, my intention was to do both. I can amend if you want, if somebody wants, but I don't think it makes a difference.
No, it'll be fine. Motion and second on the table. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Dave.
Item number 4,
Stick around kind of thing?
Nybauer Lingo water line under the railroad tracks.
So this has come to light. There's the old portion of the water line, or I shouldn't say the old portion. There's a portion of the water line that goes between, that connects to our old water line to the water treatment, and then now since we put that moving project in, there was a new connection made on the south side of the railroad tracks. And so the railroad company has been in contact with Dave and I believe maybe even Mark about whose water line is it? It's still energized, and what are we gonna do? Because they want to make sure that they're either, since the water line is currently still energized, that somebody needs to be in contact with them or in contract with them about it for liability purposes and stuff. So trying to figure out what to do about that portion of the water line.
But that's the old portion of the water line, correct?
So originally it was so when the old portion of the water line went to the water treatment, when Nybauer's and Lingles got hooked up, and for full disclosure, I'm now on the Lingle farm, so I can't say a whole lot. But when they was hooked up, and Mike can correct me if I'm wrong on because I don't know a lot of information about it, just what I've learned since then. They were connected on, in the middle of a field between the bean plant and, the water treatment plant.
North
and
side
it-
of 212.
on the north side of 212. When the looping project got put in, there was an additional connection made on the south side of 212. So there's the portion between the old new connection and the new connection that is still energized and is still,
And the railroad
Yeah.
charges money for the line.
For every
underneath it.
crossing.
Yeah.
For every,
Right.
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So they charge the landowners for that, or the city's
The-
paying for that?
that was considered a private line going all the way from where it came off of the old line to the houses. So at the time, the homeowners had been paying for it because it was a private line. But now since they changed our connection, the railroad is been in contact with both of them, trying to figure out who,
They either wanna get paid or they want the line abandoned.
yeah.
But the city still utilizes that, correct?
It's a private line, Julie, and,
Completely a private line?
completely private line, we keyed into it, so we could have the option of servicing on the south side because of the frustration on the Nibauer and Lingles, you having to pay that, so, this is a way for them to get out of it if the city so chooses to leave that as a permanent connection. That connection became live when the fire hydrant blew off at the bean plant. And we used that to service the Nibauer farms when we had shut that main down and fixed that. And it's been staying there ever since. We could turn it back, but Mark was the person that was using the Rise line. He said, "No, please leave it on there," knowing that the fee was out there. Hoping to escape that. They bill you every 5 years, Mike? Is
3
it
years.
3 years, so it's probably only comes up every 3 years. See? So,
But part of the city's redundant plan, it will utilize that, will it not?
it could, the city did incur costs when we hooked up there to do that. The city had also, when we talked about putting that looping in, the other line is, how long is that 1980 line gonna last? I mean, here it is, 44 years old today. And is it gonna last 20 more years? Is it gonna start blowing up in 2 years? We don't know. The engineer won't give us a read on that. So a 2-inch line is a big capacity. I mean, the beam plant can certainly run off the 2-inch line if we wanna backfeed it through there. And, or if we just wanna use it as an auxiliary, if something else breaks somewhere, so. And in my mind, the city, that 2-inch line, it's already under the tracks, it's already established. The city is, if the owners decide to abandon it, if the city can grab it, I would, just as a little safety valve for servicing the north side of the tracks.
So Dave,
The big difference between a private crossing for the railroad and the public crossing, in the public crossing, there's a one-time charge, $1,250, right? And it's done for the city. And privately, like, you remember what you pay?
I think it's 1,000 every 3 years, I think.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
so Dave, where the 2-inch line is between the north and south, the 10-inch and the 8-inch?
Between north and south, what?
Yeah, so where the 2-inch line is hooked into the 10-inch and then teed into the 8-inch, going south?
It is not, it does not connect, it can be connected to the 8-inch, yes.
Okay, so it's not connected to the 8-inch, goes through that,
You and I engineered the cross connection there that Tracy's got in the illustration as to how to do that, or Dave Palm and I, so we could make it go any way we wanted it to go. We make it
So-
go north, we can make it go south, we can just leave it pass through.
do we have a manhole there? Where that
No
8-inch goes?
manholes.
So we have to dig down to find it?
Nope, those are exposed shut-offs, open at the fire hydrant. There's 3 different shut-offs.
So my question is Dave, can we, so if we end up for some reason have to shut the the 8-inch feed from the south side going to the north and go back to the 10-inch line? Can we back feed back to the Nybauer farm or not? There's back through the town.
Let me pull up the illustration. The design was to feed it off either or. Let me, do a call out on that. I know Tracy's got it here. I can make that flow north, I can make it flow south, but can I make the 8-inch flow to the 10-inch, is what you're asking me, Jeff?
Well, the 10-inch line flow back through town to the 8-inch, yes. Because the only time we'd have to shut that off is if we had a problem with the crossing the railroad track going north to the 8, from the 8-inch to the 10-inch, right? Essentially.
I don't see the draw out here. I got that on my plans the other way, but we made it so we can make it go either way, Jeff. I know that you were in on the design of that, and I'm trying to think how it was. It capped off to 8, then it went to the 10, I got a net, or went to the 2-inch, and I got it down and up. Yes, I can do that, Jeff.
So what would be the,
That's part of the redundancy.
That's what I thought,
That's
yes.
why we
Yes.
wanted to be
Right.
able to cap
Yep.
it.
So I'm just trying to think of the- I'm just trying to think of the necessity for the homeowners to have to own the 2-inch line then. If we wanted to keep it, it would be for, it would be quicker to go through the 2-inch line, there's no doubt. Think we could do a lot faster, right?
Yeah, so let's just say that the main north of the tracks went to heck and we'll be like, hey, you gotta give me water. What's gonna cost us 35 grand just to bore the tracks to give them water? Easily. So I'm going, okay, we got this 2-inch line in place. If Nybauer's and Lingles alls wanna abandon it, I would say, let's get all the railroad, we'll pay our $12.50 and we'll keep it. Would be my recommendation.
Is that a copper line? A PVC?
Plastic.
What quality of plastic do you?
Very good. When we tapped into that on that 2019 water looping project, we were impressed. We had to actually go get different fittings, for that.
So it's a quality 2-inch PVC.
That was done in the water looping project in 2018-19, I think is how it's.
No, the original line.
The original line was put in 1980. The water plant, the plant out there was put in 1985, and I think that's when you guys jumped in as well. So,
Can I assume that's the request,
Yeah.
to make it a public?
Well,
rather
it is
than-
for us, I don't know about for you.
Well, I mean,
No, what does your husband
It could be
say?
financial.
What does your husband say?
Don't matter.
Financial, but the city, not just pay them one time. Yeah.
Well, we probably have to enter into, right, so we got the,
It would be a public contract, we'd have to enter in with the railroad.
yep, they're open to that. That's called out in the letter that Tracy sent out here.
So my only question, I guess, with that is because it's on private farmland, does that have any,
we just gotta get a easement.
okay, because it's still Lingle's farmland and I didn't know how that worked, because I know that it's out in the middle of the field, the pit is.
who would have to get the easement?
Our lawyer would have
No, who, I mean, the city?
to. City would have to,
It's
because
a
we're
private
gonna,
line.
we're gonna end up we're gonna have to have access to it, so we'd have. it'd be
You're talking
without-
about, we're talking about, okay. What about the one that goes across the Lingle farm to
That's
Nybauer's and all?
So the way I believe the way the rule's written is from the pit that we put the backwater valve in to the farm is theirs. It's all theirs at that point, correct, Dave? Yeah. So wherever the pit's at, okay?
Okay.
There's gotta be a backwater valve in there.
Right.
From that backwater valve to the end user is all theirs. That's 100% theirs.
Okay, but when we go to the south side, there is no vault.
I understand it, but we're not using this also. We're not hooking it, we're hooking on the other side of it.
Yep, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
We're still reading at the houses then.
Well, and that's where it's right, and that's where it is written in the
Yeah.
ordinance.
Yep.
So would it be prudent to get the Nybauers and the Alls and Wolfels, if they're on it, to request abandoning the agreement?
that would have to be done first.
That's what you guys, that's what you want, Mike,
Yes,
right? Correct?
Exactly.
So, if that would be, once we have that, then the city could then go contact the railroad and enter into an agreement with them? Is that,
I would assume the railroad has a standard contract
Yes,
that they,
So Dave, the only other question I have is would be better off to, the reason I was asking about the Kimley ice area, would it be better off to bring it to the south side and make the connection at the 8-inch?
Well, there's a tap already in the inch.
No, I asked that. I
What
thought you
you're,
said no.
what you're saying is should we have them put a vault?
Oh,
in
yeah,
there?
that's what I'm saying, should we move it to the south side and be done with it, or should we just maintain?
Well, I don't know that we could even rip up that structure on the north
Yeah,
side,
you're right.
and using the cost expense would be huge. But, if you wanted to put in a, backflow device from those two farms, one being all residential, and, you know, Mike's got, Rick's Farm Chemicals out there and stuff, you know.
We have a backwater valve on the north side, right?
The backwater valve, RPC valve would be on the abandoned side, if they abandon it.
I think the only issue I would have is if for some reason we would abandon the north side, we'd have to put RPZ in the south side if we hooked up there. But right now, it's not hooked up there, right? At all. Or it is hooked up with another valve.
Everything's hooked up, well, it's a matter of turning the curb stop.
Well, then it would be a problem then, because if we ever go to the south side,
Yeah.
we'd have an RPZ and we'd be against our own orders and the state rules.
Right, so,
So we actually could never do that legally then.
yep, yeah, I would agree with you that you would have to put a vault in and put an RPZ in.
Because the law is very specific about private, off of the city limits on that. Without RPZ, correct?
I
know our ordinance says it, for
Terminology,
sure.
Look at the terminology, yeah.
So that'd be my only concern, if we ever did hook to the south side.
Every water line leaving town
Has to have an
a
RPZ,
backflow
correct.
preventer, yeah.
Just like your dad's, just like Gordy's, Hoffman's out there, so
Yep.
that'd be no
so
different.
what would we be looking at for cost to put that on the south side?
Manhole excavation valve, I would say $4,500.
Yeah, or at least.
Yeah.
RPZ's gonna be $4,000 myself, $4,500.
Oh, really?
No,
Too much?
they're getting expensive.
Okay.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying, we can't ever really use it the way it is designed,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I'm saying.
The whole point of connecting to it was to be able to use it if we had to.
Okay, so then really what you're telling me, hey Dave, we should have hooked it back, turned it back to where it was coming from, the 10-inch, and now it becomes a private line again for all.
I'm saying if we ever have to get to that point, if we're theoretically meet the state law and meet our ordinance, I think we have to we have to have an RPZ valve in, so we turn it on, we have to fix it. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Now, you could go back and tell me I'm wrong and look at the law, but I think,
We have not put an outside line in forever, you know, so.
I'm pretty sure our ordinance says it, I'm pretty sure state law says that. You can come back next month and tell us, but I think that we should look at that if that's ever a thing
So
we
we
wanna
can't
do.
even make that a public line then until that's completed.
I think we have to have RPZ anytime it leaves, like he said, anytime it leaves, goes to a private line to a public line. What's that?
If I was the city, I'd abandon that line.
That's gonna force you to spend money on RPZ relevant debt.
I don't think you want us to abandon it, because then you'd be, we're all waters.
It's not that line,
Oh.
on the north side there.
I mean, I'm just bringing up the concern that I have in the future. Right now, it's fine the way it is, we're 100% legal right now.
Yeah, but you just brought up a point I hadn't thought of. If there is a working RPZ valve in that vault, I can't run it from the 8-inch to the 10-inch.
There's another problem, you might have a pressure problem.
Dave, you're talking on the north side, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You can loop it back into ours, not a problem. You can't do RPZ,
Right.
RPZ.
but the only time we wanna run it back that way is if we use the big 10-inch.
That might be problem pressure,
Yeah,
based on pressure differential.
yeah, and then we have to defeat that. But that's no difference than my 8-inch connected and my 10-inch out there, you know, I get that. Wouldn't have to maintain that RPZ valve in that vault, you could reuse that.
Yeah,
I need to do a little more homework on that.
then you would, I mean, that's what I was getting, I guess that's what I was getting at. we were gonna move to the south side, and if we have a way of isolating that, to always feed that Nybauer all Palmer, or
Yeah.
up that way, I think we should move to the south side, always feed off the south side, and just keep the maintain the line as a cross connection.
I get it.
That's what I'm saying, and move the RPZ, because then we wouldn't have to, because we're not going back to their farm anymore.
Yeah, so what has to be done here is we gotta get a cost estimate together for complying with the city of Rhode Island's rules for actual preventer installing that line.
Does everybody follow what I'm saying?
You guys
I think
do
we should
that.
move the pit to the south side and always feed off the south side. That's what I think we should do. Make the pit there and RPZ there.
Yep, and just to clarify with what Neil was asking before, Jeff Wolf was fed from, let's call it the Tom Smith side of town.
Yeah, he's across the
Okay.
way the other way.
So really, we have to deal with two properties.
Right.
Okay. So should we start with?
I think we have to get a cost estimate so they know what they're getting into, you know.
Is there a
Well,
time
so-
constraint on this? Is this contract due and they're looking for
Yeah,
payment?
it is, yeah,
Like it's due now?
yeah.
So I have a question though, so if this 2-inch line technically connects our 10-inch and our 8-inch, granted, wherever the water is flowing from, either the 10 or the 8, wouldn't that technically be ours? Like that portion that's between the two lines, could we not just take possession of that and that's the only
Well, that-
portion that's through the railroad tracks?
That's what I'm saying. So right now, if we decide to take possession of that 2-inch line, underneath the
Yeah.
railroad track right now, and leave it the way it is,
Mhm.
theoretically, I believe the way the order is written is any line that's put in private, would that meet, that would meet the public requirements of 2-inch. That would be the smallest we could go through. We could do that.
The size isn't an issue.
Okay. So we could do that. As long as it's running the way it is right now,
Mhm.
we could clearly leave it the way it is, and then when we moved it, then we would just, it would be ours at that point. So I think we could agree to pay for it. I think we could agree to,
Just, what you're saying, just adopt it as our own line.
Right
Just
now.
adopt that little piece
Right.
between the 8 and the 10 inch
Exactly.
and that would
We
be
could pay for
ours.
it.
Why not?
right, exactly, that's what I'm saying, we could pay for that, exactly.
And that's
But-
the portion
That's the
that-
portion that's covered, that's through the railroad.
But I still think we need to look at moving it to the south side.
But is the
This will buy
difference
us
$12.50 every 3 years instead of $1,000?
For us, and more time we're done.
It's 12.50 one
But it
time.
has to go into our name, or, right,
Right.
has to come out of
So
there.
I think we take over, I would project, or I would make a proposal, that we take over the line under the railroad track. To the, from the 8-inch, 10-inch to the 8-inch, and then get a price on moving the RPZ and the manhole to the south side. That would be my motion.
You'll have to repeat it.
My motion is that we take possession of the 2-inch line between the 8-inch and 10-inch from north side to south side. And then also then get a price to move the RPZ and a new manhole onto the south side line to feed the Nybauer.
So would that be cost for us?
Well, I don't think, not, Mike, sorry, but I mean, if the city's gonna pick up the $1,250 tab for doing this, so they can escape their $1,000 every 3 years in perpetuity, I think that, the city also had a cost when they put in this valve selection process that we just absorbed knowing this was coming. So the city has incurred cost on this.
Well, I don't disagree.
You know, so I've already mentioned to Tracy that I think if the city was gonna go this avenue, we have to come up with a cost thing, since he just doesn't absorb everything from there, and that, in my mind, what will be fair is the incurred cost of the $1,250 split by the parties.
Tracy, what do we pay for water now? We pay at a higher rate of water the way it is because of this kind of stuff.
I honestly, I don't know.
I remember when we had this meeting, when we first put in the line, they were gonna charge us for sewer and water, and they decided to charge us a higher rate on the water, okay? Because of things like this.
No, that's what I'm saying, you've been paying, I agree with Mike in respect of, he's been paying water charge the whole time, which includes maintaining our water lines in town, and our treatment plant and all the other things.
Doing the additional work on the south side is benefiting the city in the long run.
I think so too.
Not the Niagara Woods, not the,
Right, it's.
Cause they're
to
getting
no
water, they can leave
benefit
where
of
it's at
them.
other than the
It's to
thing.
benefit the city to switch that to the south side, or to add that to the south side.
Because we get to
That's how I
maintain,
see it,
because we get to maintain the cross connection there.
yes.
I mean, is there a
I see
benefit
it.
for us to keep the 2-inch line, Dave? You want to keep the
Oh, yeah.
2-inch, so that's our that's our
Yes, I
benefit.
agree.
That's what I was.
And
Yeah, I get it.
I was sure that was part of the.
I thought it was too, so I was
redundancy.
surprised that
When we
this,
did the whole looping project,
I thought we were gonna move it to at that time. So, but,
but we decided not to move it at that time and utilize that 2-inch line if at some point we needed to. Didn't, I thought that was a discussion.
well, I thought we were always gonna move the 9-hour connection to the south side where it was more inconducive.
That's why we put it in there, yeah.
That's what I thought, so.
But we
I-
don't have to move it right at this time.
We don't have to, do it. We just have to agree to get the payment made. Find out the
To take
payment.
possession of that 2-inch line.
Exactly.
Perfect.
And there is a motion on the table for the city to take possession of that 2-inch line that passes underneath the railroad tracks.
I will second that.
Motion and second on the table. Any further discussion?
Like,
Yes. Is somebody gonna call the railroad?
we gotta get the paperwork done.
Yeah, we'll have to let them know and they'll have to send us the contracts.
How I left it with the railroad is until you guys abandon it, we can't take possession of it. So we need a letter from both of you two saying you abandoned, does that sound correct?
So we can just make something up tonight, we'll sign it? Yeah.
So David, do you agree though, she asked, I just wanna make further
Okay, just
discussion.
send it in.
You agree there's a reason for us to keep that 2-inch line, so that's a benefit to the city.
I do follow you there.
That's where I was going
I
at.
can concur,
Okay.
yep, thank you.
Motion and second on the table. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Carried. So you have always, you'll submit some type of letter requesting abandonment of that line?
It can just be a simple letter saying we abandoned the line, right?
And I thought, didn't Mark already tell the railroad that that was kind of
Well, that was our
our,
plan, yeah.
that was the plan? Okay,
But they wanted to be called and notified or whatever.
Okay.
you
yeah.
My question back to me is who owns it? And you go, I don't know.
That-
Yeah,
We should-
so, okay. So
The
they
city
weren't
should
clear.
have something on file.
Yes.
Something
Yes.
in writing, so
100%.
whether it's an email or a I don't
Yep,
care,
and have
as long
a
as it's
copy of the,
something.
you want a copy and the railroad
And
send
then
it
if the
both.
railroad needs a copy of the minutes or whatever to show that the city has voted
Agreed.
So can I
to
just
take
come in
possession
tomorrow?
of.
Yeah.
I think that's
I'll
it.
come in tomorrow and I'll sign something.
That'd be great.
Okay.
We just catch it that same email so they don't get lost. That'd be
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah,
We all done?
I think so.
No, I want to see the pictures on the flooding.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, moving on to item number 5, Public Works Maintenance Department report. Dave, highlights, comments?
I want to update it, on Friday afternoon, we got the street lights all taken care of, so those are all up and going. I haven't heard anything from Bob Alberts and Hurley this week to start trees, I expect them anytime though, because I know that they're ready to go, so that's gonna happen before they bud out.
Who's cutting on the ash today? Who's
Okay.
cutting trees on the
That
ash?
was Excel Energy.
Oh, was it so?
Yeah, they had split oak, there's a daydream on their power lines, and I really appreciate, they asked if they could bring their heavy trucks in on the city street.
That was nice of
Like
them.
10 limits, so that was very nice. So I thank them for that. I said in my report that the Santa Fe ponds are in good shape. Right now I'm getting inundated, we're gonna have 400,000 gallon day tomorrow. I just was out looking at it, the sump pumps are not getting out to the street, and we're
Because
gonna,
they
we're
can't
gonna
get
be
them through the
pulling.
snowbanks.
What's that?
That's because they can't get them through the snowbanks.
Call a show.
When is the day? Is it December, is it the 15th of April?
March.
March.
March 15th?
Yeah, this has been unusual year, we haven't pushed it, and, now I'm pushing it real hard. We pulled a lot of manholes, and it's kind of the same typical spots.
I tried to change mine and I ended up flooding it.
Well, yeah, and that's good. Neil, I'm gonna throw you under the bus. Your line is puking out the biggest in town right now.
Mine is?
Yeah, that's be Janet. Janet and who's on the end there?
On the end,
Yeah, Wendy.
Wendy,
Janet, you, and Deb's. On that line,
Okay.
Jeff Beekman. And that line is the heaviest line.
so my line is not open to get outside.
Okay, get a hose out. That's what I told Ben Boleen this weekend too, I heard it. You know, yeah, it's in the ground frozen, have an alternative plan where you put a hose out there because you're gonna flood somebody else's basement out. I know it's hard stuff,
We'll
but.
save the harsh words for after.
Yeah, well, you know, you know, so, I mean, your neighborhood, Julie, is.
I'm just
is-
afraid I'm
is
gonna
right
get called
there.
out.
Yep, yeah, it is, in between, Casey and Mr. Eiler, and our fourplex that doesn't have a basement, and you,
I don't
you're
have,
there. And same thing, you're,
mine's tied right in, I can't pull it.
and that's exactly what Neil just said. So you're saying it's okay, and it's not okay.
No, so
Yeah,
I
no,
don't.
it's not okay. That's my message everybody listening to, you know, you gotta have a hose out in the street. Yep, so,
You're like throwing money down.
Neil, you dropped some. Yeah,
Oh,
so, yeah, so, I just say, and you know what? That's good. That's good.
Apparently, people have forgotten I'm extremely easy.
And it's good that you bring this up, because, yeah, everybody thinks that we can keep
So
it
we need to
underwater.
disconnect and run a separate
Yeah, and get
separate
something,
hose
you
out
know.
there to,
Yeah, because it's
Temporary.
just going down the wrong pipe right now. You know, my mom's was open, and Marlene Lund's was frozen tight, and, you know, she did the same thing. We gotta figure out a way to get it out. And my neighbor Virgie, we got hers out, you know, but, it's gonna be a problem not only this year, but years down the road, so we have to come up with solutions. This isn't something that has to get fixed tomorrow, you guys, or next week, but we gotta have a plan down the road, you know, for the heavy rain events and everything else, you know, next spring, if all the springs afterwards. So, all right, I'm done with that. You guys wanna talk about flooding? These guys are here. I think we
Yep.
should,
yeah.
you know, so, John, you wanna talk about sandbagging?
We can look at it. We'll look at it.
I was gonna let Neil start that one first. And just hear what you guys have to say, that's why I'm here.
I don't know, I went out and looked on Sunday morning, yesterday morning, and, I mean, I understand that, and I'm no expert, I went over to 71, and I can see it's open, and as I worked my way back to these, when I get out here by Scott Kirstigs, I don't see, when I looked yesterday, I see very little movement.
Yep.
So I don't know, I mean, I was a little concerned about what's happening down here on Ranchwood, and now, of course, in the other houses, and I think to me, it looks like it's maybe receded a little bit on the lattice that's on the Stevens house. It looks, well, when I
It's a
look
good
at it,
gauge, it's out of the garage on the other side.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know if it is or not, and I mean, I'm no expert on it, I just was trying to think when we talked about sandbagging, we didn't do it because it was open. Well, it took me to get to 71 to see, and then I went to Sawyer Kirstigs, you know,
And that's
south of
where it
this
was the
place, and
slowest.
it was moving a little bit, but when I threw it, a snowball in out here by Scott Kirstigs yesterday morning, the bubbles were moving like this, just,
And they were
they did move.
of today, so I went out this morning with Sheriff Hable and Jeff Nelson, who's his drone pilot.
Okay.
And we went south of Sawyer Tursty there, and flew all the way back till we got just south, where it turned south by Sawyer's bus garage.
Yep.
And it was hardly moving anywhere. So then I came back to town and I got the fire department's four-wheeler and went over to Scott and Randy's because that's the highest spot that I could see. And I had, who was with me, Dave?
Al Osterfeld
Thank
and
you.
Bob Vander.
Bob Vanderhagen. They came with me so that in case I got stuck, I had help. And I went over to south of where Sawyer's is. And yeah, I could see a slight eddy where it was going through and then it was slowing drastically. Joe Jacobs, while we've had this meeting, has been out and gone all the way to 71 now. It is flowing much faster. Over there. I've got videos here I can show you if you want. And it's easily 10 times what I saw at noon today.
Oh.
So we are finally making progress, and my gauge was the garage next to RCCR, because she called and talked to Dan earlier today, and I went and looked at it. and it's about a foot away from her garage now. Excuse me.
If you go out there and look on the west, on the east side of 5, I've got a little orange flag by the culvert. Right now it's on the edge of the water, it was about that deep before. So that's what I've been gauging our up and down with, is that little flag. I did measure the culvert on the east side. We've got 3 inches of space from where the bottom of the cement is to the top of the water. And when I was out there, I just got home from work at 6:30. The water is definitely flowing at a clip that direction compared to yesterday. It was going the opposite. So
You say it's off of the RCCR garage now?
It's about a foot.
It was up against it.
It was
yesterday.
not the
Well,
RCCR.
it's
What's her name?
Cindy's house.
Cindy's
and
garage.
she's concerned.
It was right up to her slab there, and now when I came into town at
I
5:30,
saw at least 6 feet there. I mean, that's what I said.
Okay, yeah,
We
so
need to
it's-
worry
I saw
about it.
some.
there's a little spot that one little spot where it was actually that's moved back a good
Yeah, because
foot.
when I saw you this morning, I went and looked, and then from
Mhm.
now, when I looked at it, it's definitely, I think.
Yes, it is. So it is starting to flow, and like I say, Joe just sent us videos showing us that there's much more water moving than there was
I want to say
earlier.
it's 70 tomorrow, so it should open up some more.
Well,
Hopefully.
and from what I've seen too, we've got a lot of water puddles in the fields, but there is a lot less snow than there was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So
Well,
the
and-
melt is coming to an end. It's just now this water's gotta go
Go, get out.
somewhere.
And out by me, which doesn't concern you guys because it goes a different direction, I went to talk to my neighbor, and I drove by one of his intakes, and it's an outtake right now.
Yeah.
It's
Seen that today.
so.
Boiling out.
It's boiling right out, yeah. So, but the reason I'm here is because of your email earlier today. That's why I came, just to see. And if I'm wrong in how I understood your email, please correct me.
No, I
But
just, I was.
I understand the concern as far as, should we be putting the sandbags out there or not?
Well, let me, now that this we
And that's-
stuff, let
yeah.
me clarify the we versus they or who. I talked to Mike Hannon, geez, we talked about this, or we started this ball rolling, what, 2 weeks ago, Dave? And Mike just kinda went,
Three.
it ain't gonna happen. Well, now all of a sudden, he took a drive and, oh, I can go down to Redwood and get bags, so I get a phone call at work and Dave says, we got a problem. So I came home, I took 2 days off of work last week, so we could get this sand in place, get things set up, get the bags up here, and, I had this discussion with Mike. I says, well, we've gotta buy all these bags, and he says, well, yeah, okay, but I said, well, we need help. Dave and I both kinda, from one side and the other, kinda gave him a little punch in the shoulder. It was, well, you gotta help us buy bags, we can't afford all this. Well, are you protecting government buildings, or are you protecting city residents? Well, we're concerned about residents. Well, then, the city is totally on their own. If we're protecting a government building, the county will pay. So, and it's not up to us to sandbag for these people. It is their problem, it is their private property, it is their call. Well, we've only had one person that's, and it was Cindy today, she said, gee, Dan, what do you think? I said, it's your property, Cindy, you make the call. You call me, we'll put a page out, we'll get the help. And that's where I left it. So, that being said, we did do RCCR. Yep, the fire department came and helped, and that was great on Easter Sunday. I hated, we hated to do it on Easter Sunday, but it was the day it had to be done. And I looked at Mike and I said, Renville County building, right? I go, it is too. Sounds good to me, Dan. So we're off the hook for any cost so far, Julie. Remember this.
It's not, yeah,
Remember
exactly.
that. Because they're gonna pay for the sand and the bags. I mean, why not? That he told me if it's a government building that we're protecting, it's the county or the
Still
government.
contract.
So when we,
We're still protecting the community. It's,
That's our choice at that point, whether we get reimbursed or not.
well, but why should we incur any cost when Mike told me that if we're protecting a government building, the government will pay for it, the county will.
but it's not a government. In fact, that's not even the name anymore.
Oh, shit. There you go, it just ruined my day. But anyway, then if that's the case, then we will, and right now we've got 15,000 or 12,000 bags on a trailer minus whatever we bagged up. We will keep track of what we have used, and the sand is paid for, we're getting billed for it, that's all right. But we'll just keep a track of how many bags that we used out of the they're bundled in bundles of 1,000, and I specifically said, just don't go run amok and start cutting.
Yeah, exactly.
Take the 1,000, we'll count what's left, and we'll just pay for it accordingly, and I think they came from Redwood County when Mike went and got them, so.
They did.
But that's where we're at right now. I think if I wake up tomorrow and I find 4 inches or 5 inches under the concrete, I don't think we're gonna need another bag. I think we're in, from what I've seen, from what I saw this morning
Yeah,
and
and at
yesterday,
noon,
Should
that's
open up.
huge. That
Once
is
it's
moving.
running,
where
it
you-
should, once it's running, it should open.
yeah,
Well,
well, now
all
it's
I'm
finally
happy to see
moving.
is it's pulling under County Road 5,
I
not
agree.
pushing. So,
The other thing that's gonna help us is it's foggy out there because the frost is coming to the ground. The soil acts as sponges and rivers act as livers, so it's gonna help. Both.
So the reason I'm here is just then to clarify, because of your email, we run into the burning buildings and everything, and that's fine, I have no problem. But as far as whether or not the city wants us doing the sandbagging for residents, if somebody calls me, I'm gonna go. And if I go as a private citizen, fine, I'll go that way. But I just wanna clarify on that with you guys, how you want us to go forward with that, if this ever comes up again.
yeah, would the
So.
fire department get paid their hourly rate helping?
And that's the last thing the guy's even worried about, is just whether or not
But
the city's worried about the liability
I was
side.
worried about it because how are we gonna handle that if somebody does ask you
Sure.
a question? That's where I was coming.
Sure, no, and and us being on the payroll covers any liability.
Exactly.
That's
Whether or not the
Right.
city wants us to do
That's why I
that
didn't
is
go
mine.
nuts and grab vests and wristbands and have some
Mhm.
waivers signed because they are city employees, so they were covered, and I knew that, so I wasn't gonna go.
And I would
Yeah,
argue the
sure.
whole government building thing, because are we going to wait until half of the town and now it gets to City Hall?
Well,
And
it
starts
could be
flooding
a
before we
government
start-
street.
Before we
That's
start
And what about-
protecting it, because.
No,
we're not gonna
absolutely.
pay
And what about
for it.
protecting
Yeah, that doesn't make any
infrastructure?
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
The
That's why
streets
that
could,
was my
yeah.
question, so.
In talking to Mike, is if there was a street there, if we're protecting the city street, then that's technically a government part. So it's, the house is just on the other side of the street, the really and truly that.
With an extension next to RCCR's government street. It is.
That strip.
That little tiny
It
bit.
is. It is.
There's no infrastructure under there.
Also the one between,
9th Street.
yeah, exactly. Cause we have water line there.
So yeah, so that's the only reason I'm here, is I just wanted
We can't.
clarity on
We can't
that from you
yeah.
guys. Going forward, we have, everybody in the department has no problem. I had the 4 surrounding departments on
Call.
ready if I needed them. And they would be covered under their own cities then, because it would have been
Mutual,
changed out.
mutual aid.
Mutual aid. So that's why I'm here. I just wanted to make sure we have that clarified going forward. This will probably not
And it's
happen
not just the
while I'm on the
liability,
department
it's-
again, but who knows?
It's-
And I did
It's
think
having
that
city
yesterday.
entities
Sure.
that are the organizational, you know,
Yeah,
Dan needed the fire department under him to.
Yep.
Delegate those duties and.
yeah. And so, yeah, so we sent out an informational page and got everybody going, and I left Elk River and flew back here so that I could be here. But we got it done.
Volunteers show up as well?
No, it was
No,
just,
it
we
was
had,
just
I had 16 firefighters.
I just knew there was some
Wow.
social media buzz
And there were some
saying,
people that asked
was there,
about it,
do they
yeah.
need volunteers? And I'm like, wow, people are. getting
Then we would have
out
had to pull out the wristbands and the vests and
Right.
gotten a sign-up sheet and all that stuff. Whereas this way, I just took attendance of who was there, and it's covered that way. So,
there. So it's going the right direction.
yes,
Feel there's any
Well,
need
compared to-
for sandbagging.
I had to stop moving myself to see water moving earlier today at noon. And now with the videos Joe sent me, it's dead obvious it's moving now. So I think we're gonna be going in the right direction.
All right, can we talk about these restrictors that are in place then?
That's a Dave question.
At some point, were they supposed to be removed? I understand why they were put in place, but what was the plan for the removal, or was there none? Was it meant to be a permanent restriction?
Bolton and Mink designed their super ditch, and I was active in the construction of that ditch before my tenure with the city. And I was very critical of it when I saw them put them in. And the explanation I got back in 1999, I think is when that super ditch was put in 2000, is that the DNR enforced them to only let so much water
It was
into
designed.
into whatever ditch ditch 66 flows into. And the only way that they were gonna increase that flow is to have set-aside acres, okay? They're very close to having the right number of set-aside acres to pull off the first restrictor pipe. When I say first restrictor pipe, that is a 48-inch pipe, okay? The pipe going through the hill, I believe, was a 72-inch. The next restrictor pipe, I believe, is a 60-inch pipe that can also be
So
pulled.
until they get those set-aside
Yeah.
acres guaranteed, the restrictors will not
They're
come out.
very close, they don't know if they're gonna make it. Bolton and Mink has been hired by Renville County to start that process to get them removed. And that report isn't due out until July.
So set aside acres, what is that? Just,
That's all the Chuck Weiss, thing
Okay.
that
Yeah.
he did. and,
The farmers have to agree
They're
to
waiting
that.
on some stuff now that's out there by, where I'm talking about off number 11, and they put that in there, and so, but, yeah, they're close.
So this person I talked to on Sunday morning said something about the Nybor farm out here, the carp farm, that the highway department grabbed those acres and that they were not able to be used for this DNR acreage.
Oh,
So then I asked about Chuck Weiss's land, and he said highway department grabbed those acres, and so those didn't go into they aren't being considered to be used for the DNR, and his opinion would be, he thinks there's no reason we shouldn't be able to double dip on that because it's in the same watershed.
So for the snow fence, or why would they
Say again?
for the active snow fence?
I don't know, I guess I don't know for sure, but
that might be because of that.
Yeah, but I'm sure that the highway pays more money, than what the set aside thing
I'm not
is,
sure.
let it grab them, let it go.
But if Bolton Mink is working on it with, at least it's in the process, but this person that was walking on Sunday morning said he didn't think we were really close.
Well, this 16.5 inch buffer that they're supposed to put along these ditches, does that go into the DNR thing then?
You
Which
know,
I would think it
The
could.
ditch guy
Oh,
that told me
not
this
these
from the
rocks.
county, Seth is his name,
Yeah, one of
and
them.
he, it's not, I just know that we're close to getting that 48-inch. So, what I get disappointed about is I keep on saying, well, but Island was improved. No, well, Lydia's flowing, they don't have a flood problem. We still have the same problem here. In fact, there's a bigger problem with the bigger ditch, bigger snow, ice pack, and that's what we're fighting right now. So, you can't tell me that we got improved by the big ditch. I'm glad we're just paying an outlet fee.
We didn't have this problem in the middle of August when we get a 7-inch rain in 3 hours. We've had it,
Yeah.
we've done it, Dave. We've
Yeah.
done it.
Where is the restrictor? What is?
It's, so when you cross 71 and look at the ditch to the west, it's on the end of that line, okay? So what happens is they buried a half a mile of pipe through the hill, it's great. It's a great drop. The pipe is at a severe grade, and they don't handle anything
The
to
city
give.
pays that outlet fee. We paid for that,
We pay an outlet fee every year, yep.
but it's not working for us
Well, I think it's working great.
now.
No, the outlet fee is working great because it eliminated us from the maintenance of that ditch.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of it, not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so you don't get hit with special ditch
Because it's not gonna
assessments,
pay.
which are through the roof right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would not contest that right now.
Because others we're gonna be doing the maintenance, we'll be paying for ditch maintenance forever. That's why we got out of it, we bought out of it.
And to tell you the truth, I got that rubbed in my face a little bit because, well, you're only paying an outlet fee anyhow, so you don't have much say, kind of, sort of. But, I get it, we have to wait for Mother Nature, it's what it is. And yeah, it would be, when this ditch breaks loose and it hits that 48-inch, guess what's gonna happen? It's all just gonna sit there and wait, until it's turned. Because we have bigger culverts than that going across every street crossing. So they replaced the one by Sawyer Christian Building, is the old bus garage. That one was replaced 2 years ago. So that's larger there, so it could pass through there. And that's what the backup was last year, 2 years ago. And then again waited at the new super ditch. I've been watching this ditch a long time, and I just, until they lower it or until they, get that restrictor pipe off, I don't see a benefit.
But if it were out of there today or yesterday, we would still have the same issues that we have here today, correct?
Right, the
Fair.
48's been taking everything so far
Yeah.
that's been flowing since Friday, and just
Yeah.
started flowing, you know, I mean, it took the normal stuff
Right.
to go into it, but our stuff started flowing that way Friday, and it just is slowly breaking through the ice
Yeah.
each crossing. And it sounds like, Joe, through the videos, that he shared with me as well, it was really opened up, so hopefully tomorrow we see it's dropped 2 inches, and like Dan says, we bagged our last bag.
Yeah.
And the last time this would happen was 97.
97 is what it
So
is.
it's not like it's an every year thing,
Right.
you know, so.
What did we actually use off the top of your head? Do you have a guesstimate of how many bags and how much sand and?
How many cows did we take over there? Putting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 for 150
Well, we
feet,
put
so.
about 100 feet of bags, so that's 1, 2, about 300 bags.
Yeah.
450 bags, yeah.
about 450.
Cause we figure about a bag a foot.
Yeah.
To do it right, you gotta lay your base, and depending upon your height, you go 3 wide, 2 1, that'll get you about 2.5, 3 feet, and so on and so on. So we just went 2 on the bottom and 1 layer high. Mike and I figured that would've been more than enough for, I mean,
And if it
it
wasn't,
would've had to fill a lot of water back there to raise it another foot. I mean,
Yeah.
it really would've.
and if it wasn't, we needed to add more, we would have added one more base row and then
Got
continue.
one more row up and
So,
So if you had to pull costs out of the air,
I don't,
roughly,
300 bags times 30 cents, what is that, $90?
yeah.
Plus, what,
$90 of sand plus shipping costs.
$200?
Okay.
$300, if that, so.
Figuring our 16 firefighters for 3 hours.
okay. Anything else on the report, Dave, to talk about? No?
I'm happy.
Yeah, people are complaining about their taxes going up now, they got lakefront property, I heard that yesterday. We're done here? I can go?
I think we did.
All right.
Councilman, any
Thank you.
Any
additional
more
questions?
questions on what we're doing here?
Thank you.
No. Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll see you guys.
Later, Dave.
Yeah.
Seth from the county did say if you wanted to call him and ask specific questions about your questions, that he would answer.
Okay.
If you-
Sounds good, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for
Oh,
the
wait, no, I got one more, that's right. I'll sit down. That's right.
There's some really pretty ducks there off the
Yeah,
It was
there was a lot of ducks.
And we saw some swans and some pelicans today too. Yep.
I think I'd rather have dry basements.
I agree.
All right, moving on to item number 6. Potential update to the equipment rental fees. Therefore increases.
So-
Questions, comments, concerns?
Dave and Dusty went through and kind of gave an estimate on what they think it should be raised to, since it hasn't been raised for about 4 years or
I thought
so.
we did 2 years ago.
2019.
What's that, 19? How time flies.
It was part of it, yeah.
Yeah, everything's gone up, so I. Why not?
I mean, we rent.
Is this utilized very much, Dave?
Is what used?
Do you provide us this service to a lot, very many people?
What brought this on is we contract with MinDOT and the county, and we need to have the fees established by the city and to what we're charging. Yeah. And do we rent our stuff out? Hopefully no, never, but, we have rented compactors out and stuff.
No, you get a snowplow.
Maybe to other, maybe to other entities, public entities.
Runs really well, too.
Yes, really, well. A public entity, that's the only place.
Okay, so, I
Not
mean,
private
I
people,
mean,
per se.
Randy Vogt used our cutoff saw, once, the compactor was used in somebody else's garage once, so.
Just nothing further, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Was
So
it Neil
moved.
or Jeff? Neil, motion by Neil, is there a second? Second by Bill. Any further discussion? None heard, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Spring cleanup flyers. Information was put on the water bills, correct?
Yes, they went on the water bills this past month and they'll go out again on the May one, just as a reminder, right before.
John, I can work on it, Dave, Dusty, not a problem, I have a lot of vacation. I've done this, the past couple.
So we need official approval.
Yep.
Send.
I'll make this, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the citywide spring cleanup dates and procedures and advertisement. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I think the other only thing that I just remembered of that got asked of me is the city staff gonna be able to take a half day Friday after cleanup as they have done in past years? We're gonna be able to close the office and because they'll be working the later nights on
I
till
don't know
7.
why not.
I think that is what we've done in the past, is it not?
Yeah. So they just
Is
got
there an
asked,
official motion for that, or? No?
maybe, I don't know. But they just got asked of that
Extra
and,
hours you work between Wednesday
It's
and
just like comp time,
Thursday,
it's no big
take
deal.
it off of
Yeah.
Friday.
yeah.
All right, item number 8. The Age Friendly Minnesota Community Grant.
So with part of the splash pad, pickleball courts and all that, I think we, Deb and I helped apply for the Age Friendly Minnesota Community Grant for $65,000 to build the pickleball courts. And they have sent us an email, and because they want to try to support more projects, they offered to give us a $40,000 grant and not the full $65,000.
Is it $65,000 estimate to build the pickleball court?
That, yeah, based on the cost estimate for the whole project, for the splash pad, when Deb was working on it, she had pulled out about $65,000 was gonna cover the pickleball courts portion of it.
That'd really take $40,000 to nothing, so.
Yep,
So moved.
second.
Is there a time, does it have to be claimed? The work has to be completed prior to payment, correct?
After it's accomplishment,
I
yeah.
thought so.
I believe so.
What was the plan for the additional 25,000?
Well, we have money in our park and recreation money, just take out park and rec, I would think. So we can take
There
it out
was-
anyways.
The splash pad was part of their whole project, the splash pad, and what they're all raising funds for, and so this would help, grant money would help them, less
Okay.
money they have to try to raise, and we
Alright.
can take care of the rest.
There's a motion and second on the table to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign? And item number 9.
So,
Southwest, is it Minnesota Housing
yes.
Partnership? Okay.
So they had sent an email with potential dates, and this maybe should have gone to the EDA first, but EDA wasn't going to be meeting until the 24th, and most of their dates are like end of April. So I just wanted to bring this to you to see if there were any dates in particular that we had, or if we want them to look farther into May before I gave them any kind of response. Just looking for more of a guidance of what we would like to do.
I was gonna give you a list, wasn't I? Do my homework.
Well, and then originally when I was talking to them, they told me May, and so I was really surprised when they sent me an email with a bunch of April dates that are 2 weeks away, and our EDA meeting isn't until the 24th, and
I'll be honest, I meeting
South side of the fairgrounds building.
toward the May dates, either 9th or 10th.
And if they want us, or if we want them to look farther into May, we can let them know that too, if there's some, if that might be too soon.
I'll get together with you on that and
Okay,
with the list of people that I had and
yep,
get info out to them and see what person is.
okay.
Okay. Office hour changes. Request to change city hours from 8 to 4:30.
I appreciate you doing your due diligence and looking at other cities. That helps to know. I appreciate that, Tracy.
Thank you. You're welcome. So this, I'm here between 8 and 8:15 every day, and I'm not gonna lock the door behind me and wait till 9 o'clock to open it up. And I get a lot of people that follow me in the door, and so they're already coming and calling long before 9 o'clock on a regular basis, and I'm not gonna turn them away. And then because we are here already kind of that early, it would just be nicer to have a little bit more time in the evening to try to get homework done and everything that comes along with the work-life balance.
It looks like most of our sister cities, with the exception of Buffalo Lake, is 8 o'clock anyways.
Yeah,
Government offices are out 8 to 4:30.
in the county
I'm
ones.
in the county government.
Yep.
the courthouse.
So, and it would be more in line with them as well.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion and second to change our city office hours to be 8 to 4:30 rather than 9 to 5. Any further discussion?
One other question I guess we had, or Don kind of asked me, is when would this take effect? And I said I kind of leave that up to you, but I figured maybe May 1st. I kind of try to give the residents a little bit of a
And May
Heads
1st is a
up.
Monday, so I think that's a great day to start.
so.
Do you think there's many people that, I don't think there's a big problem between 4:30 and 5. Do you think there's many people that at the end of the day try to get back here from their work day to try to catch you for the last couple minutes of the day? Probably not.
I don't really think so. There is always that one person who seems to be the same person every month, 5 minutes before we close on the last day to pay your water bill.
Okay.
That's probably going to, of course, have a problem, but for that one person, I don't.
We'll just come in for 25 now. So.
Yeah, they'll just have to adjust their time or plan a little bit farther ahead.
Could you get them to take the automatic payment?
I think
I
you
don't
tried it.
know. There's that, and they can pay online.
There's a fee.
Right.
If you set it up to pay your water bill, the city charges a fee to do that.
What's the fee?
3%,
It's, I don't know exactly what it is.
or
but-
whatever the processing fee is for the,
Can they still drop off in the? at the
Yeah, they
bank?
can still drop off at the bank, and then they
After
depository
hours.
Yeah,
after
that's-
hours.
So what? I mean,
So. Okay, there was a motion, I'm sorry,
Yep.
motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I mean, I'll go back to the same thing we discussed at one time before. Do we think about putting a drop box out front, a lock box and a drop box out front? People can just drop things off in the lock box.
We've talked about it in the past.
Yeah.
The feeling was, since the bank already allows us
I agree.
to do that, there was no reason to have a second location.
but
They're
if
not-
even like new coming into town, we didn't know about it. for
They're not expensive. I
forever.
mean, we could do it and, don't have to go to the bank. I'm just asking a question. We could, those post offices are not, those boxes are not expensive.
What do you do, cut it
You
into
just,
the
no, you just put it
wall?
on a metal post and
Oh.
just put it, bolt it down. I mean,
Maybe bolted to the wall or something? Yeah. Is that yours?
I know
What do
there's.
you do when it does get damaged then?
Yeah, and then there's always
There's always that. Always theft.
the people
But not
that
at the bank, because it's here.
claim.
True. I'm not disagreeing.
Future discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried. Purchasing policy. Request to increase the amount for department heads from 100 to 200. I thought it was 200.
It was $100, and I know the policy was put in place quite some time, and with the price of everything, to just
You can't buy anything.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, folks,
Motion
Right.
to approve, Neil.
Second.
Discussion please on that. I don't think $200 is enough. Buying $440 cutting edges for the snowplow, and I gotta write a letter home to get it. That's normal maintenance, that's normal budget stuff. They blow a tire on the truck, $250 to get one. It should be $1,000. I'm responsible for my own budgets. And I've always been, and to handcuff me to have to do an email and get it instead of working, you know, as Tracy put in place that I have to email every time I spend money. You wanna elaborate on that, Tracy?
I just asked more so because I want to be in the know and I want to make sure things are in the budget. And with me being brand new, I don't know what's in the budget. So instead of coming and just talking to me, that way I can do my research, I can look it up. So I I asked for an email if something needs my approval. And that way there's also a paper trail to cover everyone's behind it. So, yep.
I'm not opposed to it being more than 200. I don't know that I would go as high as 1,000. It's easy to lose track, and so to stay on top of monitoring the budgets and what's in the budget, I would say 500 would be
So
reasonable.
I think it's 500 here, 500 there. You do that 10 days in a row, all of a sudden you got $50,000 or $5,000 instead of.
Well, that's why I
That-
was thinking
no, that's what I'm
1,000
saying.
is too high.
That's what I'm getting at. So it could very quickly add up to a lot of money very fast. I don't think it's.
I'm just asking for a little more anyway, so I can still do what I do. I don't wanna have to have someone office help me, so I can keep working and getting stuff done, because that's what this is. It make, you know, I got email on my phone right now, and we've been trying to do it. Well, now guess what? I'm over data on my phone, and we haven't even begun to use it yet. I know Tracy's got some ideas on how to work around that and stuff, but it still takes time on my part, and we're on the skeleton crew anyhow. So I don't need no more office time, and that's what this is gonna make me do. You know, I like Julie's suggestion of 500, and I can live with that. I just can't get nothing done for $200.
I guess our biggest issue in the office is more so just getting receipts than anything and making sure that we're in the know and of what's been ordered or ahead of time too. And that doesn't always mean the dollar amount. Like to us it's more of being in the know and knowing what's coming more so than
The majority
dollar.
is invoiced, Phil, is it not?
Yeah, and so when the invoices come, we don't like surprises. And just being able to know about it. So when I do have like the email from Dave and I get an invoice and we may have had a conversation like maybe a month or two ago, or it's been a while and I don't remember that. So then I can go back and look and be like, oh, okay, that's what this is for.
And the fire department is guilty there also, we're working on that.
Yes.
Just
It's-
with our fuel costs, when we have a fire, we have to go fill afterwards. Those trucks are not $100, $200 fill,
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the machine doesn't always print a receipt, so now the guys are remembering to take their phones with so they can take a photo to get to, so I can get it to. So I am part of that also.
Yeah. It's not just Dave or Dusty. It's anyone making any kind of a purchase. And we just had like an issue with Max Hardware. For whatever reason, we got two different statements from them. One of them says that we owe nothing. And then the other one says like our total bill is less than $100, but I had no receipts or nothing. and I have two different statements, and I've asked Dave and Dusty, I'm like, what is this? Like, yeah, so I was starting to wonder, do we get billed for somebody else's stuff? So, yeah.
Council's thought on the amount?
I do like the 500 idea.
I just know what the cost of normal business is.
What is it, the county?
Even if it's temporarily,
Oh, it's like 3 or 5 grand. So like, we gotta get a set of tires for the, say the grader, let's buy one tire at a time. So then like the commissioners get approval, but we need it. Or like, we'll start spraying here pretty soon, it's snowing, buy and spray, you know, it's not cheap.
maybe even just tentatively or temporarily $500. And then if it becomes an issue where I can see how easy it is to forget. And you just say, we need this, we need this, we need this, and then forget to keep that mental inventory going. So try till the end of the year and see how it works. And if you need to adjust it from there. Thoughts? Yes, no?
I'm okay with 500.
You don't need a
Are
motion.
you okay with 500, Tracy?
Whose motion?
Was it-
To me, it's more about being in the know and getting the information and receipts more than $1.
You know, and I do have to applaud Tracy, there's really been no problem with Tracy's and my communication lately. Would you agree? Yes, no?
For the
Yes,
most part.
I'll second the motion for 500. Then you get.
I'm gonna amend it.
I'll second that motion.
Go to 500.
Motion second to increase the authorization of purchases up to $500. Any further discussion? None heard, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Todd Manderscheid, resignation from the fire department.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
John, where you at for people?
Hmm?
Where you at for people?
I just did today, I have 21.
You got 4 before.
I have room for 4. You're gonna get another one next month, so that's counting the one that I'm already counting that one, so I have room for 4. You get another resignation next month.
Is he disgruntled, moving, just has put his time in and he's.
Todd We didn't feel that it was in his or the city's benefit to take the classes, because he would have had to have taken all the classes. He just didn't feel, he's like, I'm too old to do this, and he decided to step down instead of taking the classes.
Okay, we need well-trained firemen, so I don't know if that decision.
Yeah, no, and then, kudos to him for,
Absolutely.
yeah, respect him for making that decision.
Well, we thank him for the time he has spent on the department. Moving on to approve hiring of Northern Athens, part-time on call.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Any further discussion?
Does he just wanna basically mow?
Yeah, for the ballpark.
He don't drive a truck or anything, does he?
No.
Okay. Whatever happened with, Jamie?
Jamie's been busy.
Oh,
You know,
no,
when it's part-time job, there other stuff going on, I was kind of rubbing that and, you know, a little bit too, but, you know, Dawn's busy in the office, all that too, so the more people we have, again, you know, I always ask Tracy, hey, can I bring somebody in, you know, well, the Merlin's about insurance is what it is for the ball, so. And using, you know, our mowers for the outside the ball field, so.
Right.
I don't think so. No.
No, you didn't.
No.
You didn't.
All in favor, say signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Compliance summary. For the MPCA. For permit compliance. Highlights?
From what I've,
I'll be honest, I did not read through this entire thing. I didn't read it in its entirety.
based on what I've seen and stuff, it looks fairly similar, and what I've been told from others is it's similar to past years, and there wasn't anything that really stuck out.
When it says the alleged violations have already been discussed with the MPCA. What do you think?
One
Is
of
there
the
anything
biggest
that-
thing that jumps out on this one compared to other years is we entered into a new, general permit that required different testing, so you see the nitrogen ammonia on page 3 to 5 and all those, we're testing for those now, and we're aware that we had to test for those, and so that's been corrected, and,
We knew that was coming though, they talked about it a couple years ago, right? With nitrogen testing, we knew it was coming.
yeah, but we actually just didn't get the permit until after we started discharging.
Okay.
This water violation.
So I do remember us talking about
Yeah.
it. So we talked about how we can reduce nitrogen and all those kind of things.
So everything's in place that we are now in compliance and. Yes,
Yep, so did you, Tracy, did you send any corrections, for Deb, Lino?
Yeah, I saw that, and it's for an online subscriber, and it's been in the works of getting all of the
Okay,
online stuff
and
switched
what-
over.
What I would encourage you to do is just go ahead and add you to it, because Deb and you both can be on it for a while.
And I've done some of it, and I might have already done that one after this was,
Right, so the only reason I
Printed.
know that is I'm still on my Williams and.
yeah.
So, and I didn't get on Cosmos's, I'm done with both those contracts, by the way. And
So
I don't
did-
want to help in either one of those cities, yep, they're
So,
licensed contractors, and they're licensed people, so everything went good.
so Dave, on the, nitrogen and, nitrates and nitrogen, I noticed that, what's the limit on those? I didn't see where the limits were. Were we under the
Well-
limits?
On the previous one, Jeff, it was monitor only,
Okay.
okay? And I think that's, this is just that we didn't take it.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
all right, no action to be taken on this report, correct?
Right.
This information.
Yep.
All right. Anything further that council wishes to discuss at this time?
I had a question about a car that's parked upside down in someone's yard. And,
Upside down.
it's, yeah,
Yeah, where was it?
I'll show you a picture. Just was wondering, I think Tracy was gonna contact.
Yes, I talked to the sheriff's department, and they have contacted them. The car, I guess, is their own car that had stopped working, and they were more or less cutting the Cadillac converter off, scrapping it out, and they have a
I've
trailer
seen
there
it.
ready
I
to
just thought
take the car away.
it was easier to get the tires off that way.
It might be.
So-
Somehow you still gotta put it back in the trailer.
What they told the sheriff's department was that they buried the skid loader, and the skid loader is buried in the mud out there, and so they weren't able to get the car flipped back over to get it on the trailer to haul it out, and so they were more or less scrapping it out, and so as soon as they could get the skid loader out of the mud, they were gonna
No.
flip it back over and get it.
People steal catalytic converters all the time and they don't flip the car upside down.
That's
to get them.
kind of when the sheriff's
It's
department
probably
told me
gonna
that,
cut off,
I kind
so-
of gave
Four out of my
that same
parking lot
thought.
last month, I am well aware.
Seriously?
$4,000.
Wow.
Converted last month on my lot.
Was it a white car?
Yeah.
It was,
Is it taken today?
I took it maybe a week ago.
Oh, I seen a white car on a trailer going south. It was all smashed up.
No,
I just drove by and saw it and decided
that kind of
Rick
pickup?
can never complain how I park. Don't you say?
Yes, you can. You don't have to listen to it, but yes, you can.
That's what I seen it, yep, I seen it.
Someone in there. Someone brought it to my attention.
All right, if there's,
Can I ask one more dumb question about storage sheds, or, these, not storage sheds,
Portable?
portable metal?
Storage unit,
Whatever they're
the
called.
storage, what are they
Shed.
called?
No,
No.
The containers.
it's a container.
Yeah,
Oh,
moving containers.
shipping containers.
Shipping containers, that's
Yeah.
the word. Yep.
So there's several of those in the community. Are people supposed to get a permit for them?
I believe so, yes.
Because they do for a storage shed,
Mhm.
right? We have to
Yep.
approve the placement of them and,
I think that, it's been said that they're portable, there's an exclusion. Jeff?
I thought so too. I had a good question about if they're, yeah, I thought that was because they were portable, they were excluded. But they're not supposed to be for permanent.
They got big steel wheels on them and push them around.
so is that something to ask, we could ask the sheriff's department,
I think it's our ordinance, we have to look at what our ordinance says.
but they're gonna have to enforce it for us.
Yes, they are.
Mhm.
But what we're saying, you know, is because they're portable, we don't require them to tie down, we don't require them on pads and stuff, and that might be something that we should address.
Yeah, because it becomes more and more
There's
available.
more and more of
Yeah.
them in the community. If you don't mind, Tracy, just ask about that, please.
Why don't you, if you're gonna do that, let's see what the other cities are doing too. It's
Mhm.
gonna pertain to other cities too.
Containers, I don't remember that one.
Connexes, I call them, I buy them all.
okay. If there's nothing further, we'll officially close this meeting.
Thank you.